America's Saves Week continues. Do you know what your credit score is? It's one key number that can either make or break you financially.
Here to tell us more about what really impacts our credit score is Tony Walls, a certified financial counselor and services officer, joining us today. Great to have you here, man.
Thanks.
Let's just start with this, if you don't mind, because you hear so much about your credit score. Like, why should I care what my credit score is?
Well, there's a lot of things that a credit score, not just what kind of interest rate you get, but things like where I can rent an apartment. I go to high schools. I made to almost every high school this year with their financial education and first-time home buyers. But the high school kids, I kind of tell them too, when you're out on your own next year, they're going to check your credit score for where you want to live. So maybe you want that in a nice apartment, and your credit score is in there. You got some lights already at 18 or 19, and you don't get the place you want. I know insurance rates on credit scores now. And even employers, certain employers, you may not get a job because of a credit score. So it's not just the credit score and my interest rate. They're kind of taking it across all bases now.
It's interesting. And you said those kids have some great questions. I feel like I have a lot of questions too. Like, what affects it? What truly affects your credit score? What's good and bad?
Well, it's a formula, and I always kind of say it's kind of how you play the game. 35% is based on-time payments, and that's just a given. Make your payments on time, that's about a 30-year score. 30% is utilization. And the best way to say that is, say you have a $1,000 credit card and you owe $900, you're 90% maxed out. So you have 10% available, you get 10 points on the utilization part of the score. If you had it paid off, you'd get 100 points. So you can theoretically make it 90 points higher. And it's not what you owe, it's based on the utilization. So the more you get maxed out on your limits, that's why sometimes if you pay it off and a credit card, you might not want to close it if they don't have an annual fee to keep that utilization there too.
Do I want too much? I mean, can too much utilization be bad? Or?
Typically not, no. Because the credit score used to be called a bankruptcy score. So the more credit you have available, the better off you're going to be.
So that seems like kind of like a myth. I used to think that you didn't want, like, 25 credit cards in your wallet, but...
Right, but a good thing on that too is, I give an example when I go to the high school. Say I have tomorrow off work, and I go to, I won't say any stores, but I go to store A and they say, hey, here's 25% off, open a card. And I do that 4 or 5 times in a day. Each time you check your credit, it's about 5 points, and each new account, it could be up to 10. So I could go from a 700 score to a 650, not necessarily doing anything wrong, and a bad afternoon of shopping to get the discounts. So it's just keep that in mind as you go through. There's so many nuances that go into credit scores. And I'd say, at Town and Country Credit Union, we go out to high schools, we have first-time home buyers classes, we have financial counseling, a lot of things we do to educate
So what's the biggest mistake or myth you see people doing?
I think one of the biggest things is, well, I don't want to have any credit. I don't want to have any credit cards, kind of the Dave Ramsey thing, and I totally get that. But you still got to kind of play the game and have 1 or 2, and just keep the balance real low, put a tank of gas on, pay it off each month, just to show those on-time payments and that low balance against the high available credit.
I was just going to ask, is there any way to improve bad credit? That would be something that you would do? Start making payments on time? Or is it just, you have bad credit, your life is over?
No, I see a lot of people who think their life is over, and we come in and talk to them, and usually it's not as bad as you think. I would say get with a trusted financial counselor, sit down with your banker if you know one, and go through and kind of get a plan and start from there. That's the first step.
Last question quickly. You mentioned the high school kids. So let's say I have no credit. What's the best way to build it?
The best way is sometimes you need a secured card. And you put $500 in the savings account, and they'll get you one. A lot of college kids coming out, if you don't have one, your local bank or credit union will help you get one started sometimes, and that's the best way.
Great advice this morning. Yeah. Thank you. All right, stay with us. Coming up next, renting versus buying a home.